Gather round, my friends, and listen closely, for I have a tale to tell that will take you on a journey of twists and turns, of triumph and tragedy, of forgiveness and redemption. In the land of Canaan, where the sun dipped into the horizon and painted the sky with hues of crimson and gold, there lived a family with a special young man named Joseph. He was the 11th son of Jacob, a man who had built his life around his flocks and herds. Jacob's wife Rachel had given birth to Joseph in her old age, and he was the apple of her eye. As a token of love, Jacob gave Joseph a special coat, a coat of many colors, which made him stand out among his brothers. But as Joseph grew older, his brothers began to feel the sting of jealousy. Why should their father favor one son over them? They worked hard to tend to their father's flocks, while Joseph got to lounge around in comfort. Their resentment simmered like a pot left unattended on the stove. One day, Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers who were tending the flocks in the field. But when Joseph arrived, they saw an opportunity to get rid of him once and for all. They plotted against him, removed his special coat, and tossed him into a nearby pit. The pit was dark and damp, with no light to guide him through the darkness. Reuben, the eldest brother, discovered what had happened and decided to rescue Joseph from the pit. But just as they were about to take him away, Judah convinced Reuben to leave Joseph behind. The brothers then sold Joseph to a group of Midianite merchants who were passing by. They took him to Egypt and sold him as a slave. Meanwhile, Jacob believed that Joseph had been devoured by a wild beast. He mourned his son's death for many days, unaware that his favorite son was living in Egypt as a slave. Years went by, and Joseph rose through the ranks in Egypt. He became Pharaoh's right-hand man, responsible for interpreting dreams and predicting famine. He even saved Egypt from famine by storing grain during the years of plenty. But little did Joseph know that his brothers would one day come knocking on his door, begging for food during a severe famine. Jacob sent 10 of his sons to Egypt to buy grain from Pharaoh's storehouses. But when they arrived, they didn't recognize their brother Joseph at first. He was now a powerful man with the Egyptian name Zaphanath-Paneah. Joseph tested them by accusing them of being spies and forcing Simeon to remain in prison while allowing the others to return home with grain. But when Benjamin joined them later, Joseph's heart swelled with emotion. He finally revealed his true identity to his brothers, but instead of anger or revenge, he chose forgiveness. "Brothers, I am Joseph," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. "I forgave you long ago for what you did to me. Why should I hold on to grudges?" The brothers were overwhelmed with guilt and shame. They begged for forgiveness and promised never to betray their brother again. Joseph invited his brothers to come back to Egypt and live with him during the famine. Eventually, Jacob joined them too, where he lived out the rest of his days surrounded by his sons. You see, Joseph could have chosen to hold on to his grudges and bitterness towards his brothers for betraying him. But instead, he chose to forgive them. Not once, not twice, but multiple times. And what did he get in return? He got his family back, and he got the chance to reconcile with his brothers. Joseph's forgiveness was like a balm to their souls. It healed the wounds of their past and brought peace to their hearts. And it's the same for us. When we choose to forgive others, we release them from the chains of our bitterness and resentment. We free ourselves from the burden of carrying around hurt and anger. But forgiveness is not just about others, it's also about ourselves. When we choose to forgive, we free ourselves from the prison of our own emotions. We break free from the cycle of anger, hurt, and resentment. We open ourselves up to new possibilities, new relationships, and new experiences. And that's the key to true freedom. Freedom from the weights that hold us back. Freedom to live life fully, freely, and without apology. So let the story of Joseph and his brothers be a reminder to you that forgiveness is not a weakness, but a strength. It's a choice that can bring healing, reconciliation, and freedom. Remember, my friends, when you choose to forgive, You are not just forgiving others, you are also forgiving yourself. You are choosing to let go of the past and move forward into a brighter future. May we all learn to forgive like Joseph did, freely, fully, and without condition.